give your real names out to the public, but my two co-stars here just got engaged, and fake name Will Green has been married for freaking ages now.
Whopping
amount of time.
Yeah, almost. I mean, literally.
Almost
today
13
today is
today.
exactly 13 months.
Wow.
Baker's dozen.
I should probably give my wife a call.
And so we're just gonna hit you with some questions.
Awesome.
Give us your expert advice.
Okay, so I already have a question. And this is funny because I'm not asking this out of my own opinion or saying this passively, but I'm genuinely curious. Has there ever been, and I bet I could answer this for you, but has there ever been a time where you and Sydney tell each other, I just need personal space.
Yeah.
Please leave me alone?
No, that's definitely. So, yeah. I mean,
how do you navigate that?
It's not like go away.
How do you not get hurt feelings?
Nah, so really, I think for me, I was very, I think I'm literally what's called like an introverted extrovert, or one or the other. It's like extroverted introvert. Like there are tendencies where you, like I feel if I'm alone for too long, I need to be around people. But if I'm around people for too long, I need to be alone. Like it's kind of a cycle, and that's not like a special thing. I think a lot of people are like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me and her, I think if it's like we have together alone time a lot. That's what we call it.
We do too.
Which is where I'll just sit and I'll play video games, or I'll sit like I'll watch basketball, and she'll just be next to me on her phone doing whatever. That's a lot of the time. It's rare that either of us is like, it's typically one of us will suggest it for the other person. Like we can kind of get the vibe. If we catch a vibe off one or the other that are like, do you need like a minute? And sometimes it's like, yeah. Or like sometimes she's much more like, I need to be near you. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, awesome. I love that. But I would much more be someone to be like, yeah, I could use some time alone. But it's never because of her. It's normally just to kind of recover from my own. But that was something that took some adjusting to, especially because we didn't live together. We never spent the night. We never did like anything. So that first time of living together, especially in that small apartment we were in when we were first married, it's very like, oh yeah, we're always around each other, which has positives and negatives. But it's mostly all positives. And you guys are so cool with each other already that like it's not going to be an issue. But that is a very normal. There were a lot of things I learned that is like, oh, this is a normal part of being married, and that is a normal thing. Like you won't always love being around each other every second of every day. And it was especially weird because like me and her worked together for a while, so that was interesting. But like now, especially that we're working in separate places, like we crave every second that we have together, especially on like weekends and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, no, that's a normal thing.
Your turn, babe.
I don't like have one lined up. I like that idea of together alone time. Oh yeah, because we do that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, she does things like we'll watch if we're watching a show, like. I mean, we're so old already. We eat dinner at like 5:30. Typically, just because we get home from work and we're just like so hungry, and we just are like, I'm ready to eat like right now. So we'll eat dinner early, and we'll watch like right now we're watching Breaking Bad. So we'll watch like 1 or 2 episodes of Breaking Bad, and then for her, she's like, I want to just like watch TikToks or something, or I have something on my mind I just want to do. But like you can play your game, or you can watch basketball, or do whatever. And it's just kind of like a break for her. But then, yeah, we spend like after that, it's like upstairs getting ready for bed. And like typically we spend like, we'll get ready for bed like 2 hours before we go to bed, and we just hang out. But
how often do you genuinely hurt the other person's feelings? Like not like, oh, I didn't love that. More like, oh, that was bad.
It's pretty rare. Like typically she's really sensitive when she feels like she like when I don't listen to her. And that's just a very that's a common thing. Everybody feels like that. But like when she feels like if I miss a detail of something, or like if I mess something up in scheduling or something, so that's a very personal thing for her. So that's like,
those two specific examples have already happened between me and Audrey. Like if I forget a detail, or if I forget about a scheduling conflict, like
she definitely, she's way better than me at having like, she has like dates locked in and stuff, and she's on the level with that stuff. So if she feels like I'm missing something, or if I'm like not hearing her, or I just think we're overly communicative about like, I just need you to listen to me right now, or I need you to hear what I'm saying, or like I need you to understand where I'm coming from.
It's just interesting because I'm learning more and more that like the things that I take personally end up being just more selfish than what's actually true, because I know how Ben feels about me, and the more I get to know him, the more I realize that. And it's like, okay, if I do get my feelings hurt, it's because I either completely misunderstand what he's doing, or I'm just being selfish and I wasn't treated the exact way that I wanted to be treated. And it's like, he would never intentionally do that. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I can't picture a time like after knowing all of this going forward where there would be justification for me getting my feelings actually hurt. Like he would, like, for him to do something so out of line with those two things in mind that he would actually do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, you go into it and you say the stuff you say in your vows that are very like standard, and it's like I heard some like famous divorce attorney, ironically enough, talking about this, but he was saying like you go into it being like I'm going to hurt you, but I'm never gonna try to hurt you. It's like I will fall short, but like I'll try as hard as I can not to. There's a level of like. It took me a minute to adjust to the idea of you're one person now, or you're a unit. You're not and you're your own family. And so everything that comes with that is like, you're not making your own decisions anymore. And you're like, and there's a security that comes with that, but there's also a fear. It's kind of like you're losing yourself and you're losing who you are. But it's not really like that. It's more like you're gaining. It's a new thing. There's definitely like a before and after in my life of like before I knew her and after I knew her now, and the growth that comes from that. And it's funny. I was talking to my boss about it even at work today, but he talks about what happens even after you have kids, and he's like, you think you feel a certain type of way about your wife, and then you see her become a mom, and it's like. It's a completely new level. So, yeah, I mean, but like the actually in hurting people's feelings is like, I think it takes place on a deeper level for her, but it's like not as often. But I think for me, it's a little more often, but it's not as deep. And it's normally cleared up with like, hey, that was hurtful that you said that. And it's like, it goes away pretty quick. You just have to have like a short memory, and you have to nip things in the bud quickly, because the thing that kills marriages is like resentment. And if you like, if there's little things that keep happening and they don't get addressed, and you just keep building up just like small little annoyances, and it's just like, it just builds and builds, and then you start hating each other's guts, and then it's like a nightmare. So yeah, I mean, just conflict resolution is key, and communication is key. Everyone. What's the biggest,
what causes the most conflict between you and Sid? Like the most often, like which?
It's related to like, I don't know. It's rare because we don't have we'll have like arguments, I guess, but they're not really.
You're just both very opinionated.
Here's the thing that's been happening lately that I need to change. Is she will say her opinion on something, and my instant reaction is to like
counter it.
Yeah, like shut it down, and like, but in my opinion, I'm like giving my own opinion, but her point of view is like, why do you want to argue?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't want to argue. It's like, it's part of it. Like, we're having a discussion.
Yeah.
But she'll get annoyed or like bothered that I don't just like kind of go along with what she's saying.
Right.
And so she sees me inserting my opinion as like an argument or like wanting to start like a fight or something, but it's not like a fight. It's just like, she just wants me to be like, oh, I get where you're coming from.
Right. Yeah,
so
I
even
think,
if it's as little as discussing,
like, listening to each other and like validating each other is huge.
Validation's big.
Way.
Yeah. It's, I mean, even as discussing something as little as like plot points in like Breaking Bad that we're watching right now, she'll say her opinion on something and I'll be like, well, no, it's because of this. And she'll just be like, why? And we'll kind of go back and forth a little bit. And then she's like, why do you want to argue? And I'm like, it's not arguing.
That's similar for us right now. It's never like content or value of conversation. It's like agreeing over details or things that ultimately don't really matter.
Yeah.
But in the moment, we're like not arguing for the sake of arguing, but we're interested in giving our own opinions.
Mm-hmm.
But then we get caught up in the right and wrong mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's similar.
And here's something too: is you'll carry stuff from your work or from like stuff that's outside of your married life. You'll carry that home with you, and it'll affect your spouse. It'll affect your wife. It'll affect your husband. So like, there were a couple of days where, like last night, Sid was talking to me, and she's like, "I just want to be like back on the same wavelength with you." And sometimes it'll feel like that for like a couple hours or part of a day, but for her, it was like a couple of days for her where she's just like, it just feels like we're not aligned and we're not like thinking on the same wavelength. And she's like, can we just get back to that?
Yeah.
So, and that's just something that I just need to be more sensitive to.
Yeah.
And like,
it's funny how all conflict just stems from miscommunication. Like,
yeah. Well, the thing she asked last night was she'll be like, do you still like me? And it's just because like I'll respond to a question a certain way, or like I'll be like slightly annoyed or something.
Yeah.
We joke about that. But like that is something is like you'll obviously always love them. But like there are moments where you're just like, I don't like, you're hard to be around right now, or you're like, it's hard to like you right now,
mm-hmm.
which is something I never really anticipated. Because, you know, all through dating and like we barely fought at all through dating. And like, I mean, obviously stuff comes out once you're married and you're in close quarters, like all the time. But like, yeah, stuff's going to come up and you just can't let it get,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all the classic stuff. It's like never go to bed angry. You always like resolve.
How do you differentiate between like what's worth speaking your mind about and then what's worth just like being like whatever? And then how do you differentiate you saying whatever being like, okay, I'm actually going to drop it, and not letting it build up as resentment?
Yeah, if it's something that is like a repeat, if it's a thing that is going to keep coming up and it's a thing that you've noticed a bunch, that's a thing where you can be fully justified in like, mm-hmm. hey, I'm noticing this, and if this keeps happening, it's going to be a problem for us. And it's not like a threatening
mm-hmm.
thing. You're not like, we're going to have problems if
mm-hmm.
this happens, but it's like, if you can sense that it's going to cause friction, or it's like this is just something that
Into the mic, please.
I'm sorry. I'm
it's
so
like
cold.
this is something that needs to be addressed just for the sake of our marriage.
Right.
And it can be little, it can be big. But it's just stuff you're gonna learn about each other. It's
because I've just always had the sense to like, oh, if I feel a certain way, then I like need to say it. But then other times it's like, you actually don't need to say that, and you can just let it go, and it's actually better to just let it go.
Yeah.
But I always worry that it's like, oh, if I don't say something, then it's going to become resentment. So then it's like, is it better to say something?
It's always better
moment?
to over communicate rather than under communicate.
Yeah, that's my concern.
Communication is the biggest thing. Everyone says that, but like you have to be Yeah.
I have I've had experiences so far filtering what's worth like a full-blown conversation and what's worth just like a 5-second comment. And for the most part, like none of that has turned into resentment. And like 99% of the time I forget about it in the next day. But then the over communication thing, I've done that and that's never been a negative in the long run. Yeah.
I think I'm just trying to say, like, there is a difference between, like, acting out of emotion because of how you feel and acknowledging that how you feel is not always the most important thing to address in that moment.
Sure. No, that's valid.
That was the most recent thing that her and I talked about, and I forget what it was about. But there was a lot of emotion involved, and I was like, so yeah, we had to come to the conclusion that we were recognizing each other's emotions, and we were being there for each other, but then also trying to clarify, like, we need to set our emotions aside.
Yeah.
Not because they're not important, but it's because it's derailing the truth of the conversation.
Yeah, and there's some stuff that's like water under the bridge, and then there's some stuff that is like deeper and needs to be addressed. And I especially like
that's what's hardest for me to navigate.
Yeah, and I think definitely just the difference is, I mean, it's different for everybody, but just how I grew up versus how she grew up. There was a lot of like she grew up in not a very emotionally mature household, so there were so many things just left unsaid and unresolved and not dealt with. So it's different to go into a marriage with somebody who is highly fixated on, like, especially me. I mean, I'm different from my siblings even, but just in the aspect of like, I need this to be resolved right now. And if it's not, I'm not going to be okay moving forward. Like, I need to know I'm like on good terms with you and I'm like locked in, because if I'm not, then like, I don't know how to function if I'm not like, you know,
that's how I am.
If we're not okay. And she's somebody who like, she has to process things and she has to take her time and think through how she's going to respond. And like, which is a meaningful thing, because she doesn't want to just fly off the handle and say some shit she doesn't mean. And I kind of feel that way too. Sometimes like I would get accused of like shutting down in certain situations where my mentality is just like,
it's Audrey's phone next to my interface. That's why it's making that noise. She was looking at rings on Amazon.
Nice.
It's interference. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but like, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, it's like
she has to step away and process.
Yeah. So thanks. So it's like as guys, like this is more of a guy thing, but obviously it's weird to put like a full blanket statement on this is how guys work and this is how women work. But like, I definitely fall into the camp of like, if I am confronted in a certain type of way, like I'll just shut down. And that's, to her, she could see that as like he's retreating, or he's like mad, or he's confused, like, or he hates me or whatever it is. But like, I'm just trying to like focus on what I'm going to say, so I don't say some shit I don't mean and I don't hurt her deeper. Like that's huge. But then she kind of sees it as like, she's been like, I have to walk away. Like I have to leave the situation, or I have to like, I don't know. It's different in every situation. And I think.
Do you love Sydney more than you did when you first married her? I
love her. I tell her this every day. I love her more every day. And I don't think.
Do you genuinely mean that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's literally like and it sounds dumb, and it sounds like another word I was going to say, but it'd be mean if I said that. But like, it's how you know you're with. It's like how you know you're with the right person. Like once you unlock that, like, I love you, and then you start building. It's like when you're dating, and then when you're engaged, and then especially like early on in your marriage, it's when you're building that, like,
what it means to actually love a person.
Yeah, and when you're building a life together, and it's like your person, and especially for me, when I knew I loved her was the moment when I knew like it would be, because there was a phase where I was really conflicted and I was really
hesitant.
scared, and
Yeah,
I was
I
really
remember.
like, I was like, it selfishly, I was like, it would be easier to just break up
them,
and end the
I
relationship,
remember
because I
this,
wouldn't feel these feelings I'm
Yeah.
feeling, and it would be,
Mhm.
and we were only a couple 3-4 months in.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know, I could be over this and I could be back to my old life.
Mhm.
But then I pushed through that because I saw how deeply the idea of that hurt her, because
Yeah.
so early on she was way more locked in early on in our
Yeah.
relationship than I was. I was
Yeah.
much more hesitant, much more scared, especially because I hadn't been anything long term like that before. So like, I mean, even just her commitment initially early on was scary, but like, so after I pushed past through that and went into the fall of 21, because we met in March of 21, but going into the fall of 21 is when I was like really locked in. And I don't think I said I love you until it might have been like after Abilene's wedding, I think is when I said it. And like, it just, the floodgates opened, and it changed my life, because I'd never said that to anybody before. And then slowly after we got engaged and then going into early marriage, it's like, I would say that all the time, like, I love you more every day. And I would catch little moments and I would say like, I just want to tell you something. And she's like, what? She's like, I've never loved you more than I love you right now.
That's cute.
And it's like, it's corny to say that, but like, there are moments when you're just like with
Yeah.
them and they're doing something random.
Mhm.
They're like folding the laundry, or they're like cooking food or something. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so in love with you. And it's like, yeah, it's truly something I never thought I would feel this way about somebody. And it's like I said with my boss, it's like the fact that it could even go to a higher level after you have kids, but then you feel a certain type of way about your kids where you're like, does my wife even matter anymore? Like, like these kids are just like, my kid is my whole life. But then, yeah, it's nuts. But yeah, it's like ultimately, like on a corny note, like I'm psyched for you guys.
Thanks.
And like, it's to see the development of you guys and how you're growing and building. It's like, it's awesome.
Thanks.
We're both super hyped for you.
Yeah. We've already experienced tidbits of realizing the relationship has become commitment over butterflies, for sure.
Oh yeah, dude.
Like, there's definitely still moments of like going out on a date or seeing them do something they love, being really passionate about something, and it's like, oh yeah, like we're dating, you know.
Yeah.
But
that's key.
so many times, like already, it's just like, I'm choosing to love you. I'm choosing to listen.
Yeah,
I'm
that's big.
choosing to look past this. Like, it's already, yeah. And every single
But I
time,
still get butterflies a lot.
yeah.
I hope you do too.
Yeah. That's the first thing I said. And yeah, like it's already been so rewarding. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
It's great.
We've been blessed in terms of just like how quickly the relationship has progressed. I feel like it's been like compressed, like in the span of like what people experience in the span of a year. I feel like we've experienced all of that just in the span of 3-4 months. And it hasn't just been like the 3-4 months of like the beginning of someone's year long. It's like we've experienced every stage of someone's year long relationship in the span of a short amount of time. And I think that's been really helpful that it's happened so quickly, because there's been like things become clear really quickly, and they have become clear really quickly. And it's not just because everything is sunshine and rainbows and like everything's easy. Like, it's actually quite the opposite. Like, it's been really hard and we've had to work really hard for it. And there have been so many moments of like conflict or just like uncertainty or like navigating like the beginnings of an early relationship, but also like getting to know each other on such an intense like level. Like, we just spend every day together, and it's like, I feel like it's just been compressed into such a short amount of time, but that hasn't left any aspects of it out. Like, we've experienced all of those important things that you go through in an early stage of a relationship, and then even past that. Like, I don't know. I think it's been a blessing.
Everything that you were saying about your lead up to your I love you and your engagement with Sydney is like, it's us. 100%. Like Audrey is you and I'm Sydney. Like it's very, it's the same. Yeah. But on an accelerated scale.
Yeah. Like you were the one who felt more locked in initially, and Audrey was more like shaky. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
But shout out Bryson. It just took a stern talking to, just one afternoon.
It wasn't gonna be from me. That's sure.
It was a stern talking to one afternoon that kind of just like flipped a switch.
He like went in on you basically.
Yeah.
No, on me.
Oh.
No,
On
and
Audrey.
what's crazy is that what started that entire conversation was a conflict between Bryson and I. Like the reason we met in the first place was because we like butted heads the night before, and he was like, "Can we just meet for coffee?" And I was like, "Yeah, like let's clear the air."
Oh yeah.
And then it just like it's crazy.
You should name your first kid Bryson.
No.
Oh, no. Okay.
Respect.
I just feel like it's because of him, but that's fine. That's fine.
Thanks. He'll get accolades in another way, but never
big
that.
time.
Okay, on that note, I have to get ready for volleyball.
Yeah, that's 30 minutes.
Thanks
All right.
for listening.